Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project. And this is our illustrious producer, Huck. You're a good girl. Oh, thank you, Huck. Thank you. You're a good girl. Yeah, she's a good girl. She's going to be here with us while I film. And hopefully I don't get too many people upset that Huck's in the first 25 seconds of the footage. And this is Huck TV. Yes, it's her channel. And just a reminder, right behind Huck, we've got the conference coming up. I'm sorry, the cruise coming up November 9th through the 16th. Go to Gather Up Events. Gather Up is one word. Me, Jeff Meldrum, Mariah Mayor will be talking on the cruise, giving presentations about Bigfoot. Oh yeah, Bigfoot. That will be a cruise of a lifetime. I will tell you that right now because there are some surprises that are going to be happening on that cruise that people will not believe. I can't tell you what the surprises are going to be, but they're big and bold, folks. In fact, there's only two people that really know, and it's myself and the person managing the cruise, and that's it. And it's huge. That's all I'll say. Huge. All right. What we're going to talk about today, 2 disappearances. Both of them are pretty strange. Both of them are really strange. First case happened in Oregon, southern Oregon. And I heard about this case a long time ago, but the facts about it didn't come out until much later. And once the facts did come out, they were mind-numbing. It involved a man named Charles Levin, 70 years old, went missing July 8th or June 28th, 2019. Probably an equal number of dates for each date given, and it was very hard to determine. I think it was June 28th. He was a resident in a place called Selma, Oregon, in Josephine County. I'm going to show you the picture. See if you recognize the man. He had a stellar Hollywood career. He appeared in Annie Hall, Night Court, NYPD Blues. He was on the first episode of The Golden Girls. He was on Murphy Brown, LA Law, Growing Pains, Doogie Howser, Empty Nest, and a series of movies. I gotta tell you, I don't watch a lot of TV, but at night, if I'm going to bed and Seinfeld's on, I like to watch it. And I've probably seen every episode twice, or maybe 3 times. Because I like the humor in it, and it's mind-numbing to me. Well, my favorite episode of Seinfeld, God rest your soul, Charles, involved this man right here. And the title of it was called The Briss, B-R-I-S. He played a moil, and a moil is a man that does circumcision on young Jewish babies. That's why it was called The Briss. Now, he told friends at the time, after he made it, that Jerry Seinfeld was standing next to him while he was playing this person. Seinfeld laid down on the couch and laughed so hard that they had to take a break for a couple minutes. If you've never seen that episode, Charles is unbelievably great in it. That's all I can tell you. And when an actor does something that well, he deserves the credit. So he had a long, very good Hollywood career. He had a son who lived in that Southern Cal area. And in 2004, he moved up to a rental home outside of Grants Pass in Southern Oregon. And then he later moved into a rental home in Selma, Oregon. And he drove a 2012 bright orange Fiat compact, little tiny small car. People said in his neighborhood that he was a super nice man, helpful, friendly. Just reading the reports of what people said. Now, different sites say different facts. One of the sites, the multitude of them, said his son tried to get in contact with Charles and couldn't, and called him in as a missing person. Now, the house that Charles lived in Selma, his landlord told him that he had to be out by July 1st because the home had sold and the purchasers wanted to move in. Well, he went looking for a new house, and he did. He found a new one in a city called Cave Junction. And his son said that he was excited for the move and had been boxing his possessions, getting ready to move. That's why it sounds like June 28th is the date that his son called. Well, when his son called him in as missing, the deputies went to that house, and they found his house in boxes, getting ready to move. But his car wasn't there. I'll show you the map. Now, this is Selma, Oregon, where he lived. This is Grants Pass up here. And he was moving to a city just south called Cave Junction. And right here is the California-Oregon border, very close. And there's a very famous place called the Oregon Caves National Monument, ran by the National Park Service. This area down here is very, very rural. Not much going on, not a lot of people, kind of lonely and desolate. Just giving you the facts. Well, deputies talk to the neighbors when they go to his house. They figure out that it had been a while since anybody had seen him. And then the deputies requested that the cell phone company give them the data on the phone because he was missing. They called, there was no answer on the phone. Something was really wrong. Well, the days go on, and finally the deputies get the phone data, and it was last pinged in an extremely remote area northeast of Selma. Okay, so again, this is Selma. So northeast, out in this middle of no man's land out there. Now this area of Oregon, black bear, mountain lions, a lot of activity out there. It's a very rural area, deer, elk. Now, once the deputies knew that the ping was in this area, they went in there en masse, and they brought some searchers with them. And neighbors went around asking, hey, what's going on? What are you looking for? And they said, well, this man disappeared, and his phone was last pinged right in this area. Oh, okay. So some of the neighbors go out looking as well. Well, one of the neighbors took it upon themselves to go out into the boondocks and look. How many times have I told you that people really unrelated to a search end up finding things that the searchers never find? I think it's an oddity that seems to pass us by a lot. But this is another one, another example. This man who lived in the area was walking around, and he goes up this really old, dilapidated logging road. And he's walking up there, and he gets to a place, and he sees a car. And he's about 2 miles from a paved road. And this man can't believe what he's looking at because he doesn't think even a car could get up there. He was looking for a person. And he knew the car they were looking at. So sees the car, immediately comes back and tells the deputies. And the deputies originally try to drive their police cars in that direction, and they can't. And they had some ATVs. And they drove one ATV up there and got it stuck and got it damaged. So everyone else had to walk. In their description of it, the car was in an almost impossible position. Both the doors were closed. They went over to the driver's side door, which was unlocked, and they opened it. And they said that it smelled like decaying flesh. Okay, so everyone, if you don't know what that smells like, you're not missing anything. It's a smell you'll never forget. So I'm sure that the police thought, okay, he's in the car. So they open the door, they let it air for a second, they stick their head in, and there's no man inside, but there's a dead dog. So Charles had a pug who he loved, who went everywhere with him. It's like his companion. And the dog died inside the car. The people said that was his love of his life. They look around and there's nobody in sight. And the car was on the edge of a 30-foot decline. Now I want you to think about this for a second. I don't really care how old you are, but if you were able to get up that road, if he did drive his car up the road, then why wouldn't you just follow the road back down? But nobody said they saw tire tracks going up there. The deputies did say that it appeared that the front tires were moving at some point as though they were trying to get out, but they never said that they saw tire tracks go into that scene. The police, let me quote to you exactly what the police report stated. Deputy said, "I would have never thought the Fiat could have been able to make it down that section of road." The deputies had to park their ATVs and walk that 400 feet. That's how rough it was. If you can't get an ATV in an area, how did he get the car in? I have an ATV. I could take that thing almost anywhere. Well, the deputies search and search and search, and they can't find anything. So they call for a search and rescue call-up the next day because they figure he's got to be in the area somewhere. So July 13th, the next day, search and rescue teams and more deputies and more police show up, and they attempt to locate Charles. What they found was very peculiar, folks. Somewhat near the car, they find a pile of men's clothes. Later, they determine they were not Charles's clothes. They don't know whose clothes they were. But at 8 p.m., they search all day. At 8 p.m. that night, searchers are in a valley below the car, 30 feet down. And in between two trees, Charles is laying there naked, deceased. Deputies said that there was predatory bird poop around the body, partially on the body, and that the chest cavity had been eaten through and the majority of his organs were gone through predation. Law enforcement said that they looked and they couldn't find his clothes. The coroner was responding to custody of the body, and the coroner ruled no foul play was involved, and he ruled the death accidental death. What is accidental death? I have no clue. I've never heard of that. Okay, maybe you're walking on a cliff and you accidentally fall, but that's not the cause of death. Blunt force trauma, broken neck. No, they just said accidental death. I have never heard that. The coroner did say no foul play, and it wasn't suicide. It was later determined that Charles, the day he disappeared, had called a friend and said he was near Cave Junction and needed some help. Well, he was nowhere near Cave Junction. He was near his house in Selma. So my thoughts always are, was he near Cave Junction and something happened? Something took his car and took him? I don't know. His friend tried to talk him out and understand, couldn't even figure out where he was, and then they lost phone contact. The theory purported by the police was that Charles was lost and possibly took a shortcut and got stuck. That's weak. That's really weak. The question is, where did this pile of clothes come from? Are we supposed to believe that those were what Charles was wearing? And he stripped naked and ran down the hill and laid down and died between two trees? Why was he naked and why did he die? Now, I don't know what happened, but I'm smart enough to think outside the box. There are a lot of UFO abductees who claim that when they woke up after the abduction, they were wearing clothes and they weren't theirs. I'm just saying, I don't know. Charles told his friend he was near Cave Junction, and he was nowhere near Cave Junction. So, Cave Junction is way down here, and he's found way up here, right near the city that he lived, on a road that was almost impossible to get on, per the deputies. So did he really drive up that road? I have no idea. I have no idea. Different news organizations tried to call the law enforcement agency and get them to make a statement. They wouldn't even talk to him. They wouldn't even talk to him. All right. Charles, you made me laugh. I appreciate that. God rest your soul. I don't know what happened to you. And I don't really even think the law enforcement agency knows what happened. The next case, a Wyoming case. We're back in Wyoming. Remember that? Man's name was Mark Clevenger, 22 years old. He went missing September 15th, 1980. He attended Casper College and Northwest Community College in Powell, Wyoming. He lived with his parents in Worland, Wyoming. And during the summer months, he got a job employed by a company called Seismic International Research, working in an area 20 miles west of Matiste at the end of what's called Pickett Creek, out in the middle of nowhere. This company goes out, they do seismic testing, looking for oil and gas deposits, seeing if there's a possibility to put a well in. These guys work way out there on their own. It's kind of a, you better get along with the guys because it's a lonely place. So we're in Wyoming right here. This is Matiste. This is Dumbbell, Wyoming. Sunshine, Wyoming. This is the Carter Mountain, and this is Pickett Creek. So they're way out here in the middle of nowhere. Seismic International advertised that they provide consulting service and computer processing of geophysical data for the oil and gas industry. Pretty complex work. Well, on September 14th, Mark was with his crew, and they established their camp in this remote area. And they were going to be there for a while. And that following morning at about 3 o'clock, the report stated that Mark got frustrated and angry with another crew member. He put on his down coat, his jeans, and his boots, and he walked off to cool down. The elevation of their camp was 8,400 feet and about a half mile west of Carter Mountain. And Carter Mountain goes up to 12,000 feet. That night, at about the time he walked away, it started to snow lightly. He was dressed pretty warm. He was dressed pretty good. Everyone went to sleep after he left. They wake up the next morning, he's not around. It's snowing lightly through the night. Well, the team goes out and they look for him, search the area, call his name, nothing. Well, then the team gets on their sat phone and they call the Park County Sheriff's Office, and they say that they need deputies there and a search and rescue team immediately to start looking for their crew member. It was also said that Mark was in really good shape. So, you're the deputies. You get out there to this isolated camp with these men, and this guy just walks away in the middle of the night. I would tell you that if I was the deputy, I'd be questioning, did these guys kill the guy and just leave him, or what's going on here? I mean, you got to think that. So the deputy immediately calls for a search and rescue call-up. He asks the guys to come out with him and search, and they do. They don't find anything. They're calling his name, nothing. The next day, early in the morning, 20 ground pounders and 6 local search and rescue people on horses get out and start searching the area. I'm telling you, on horseback, it's a lot easier to cover a lot of ground because you're looking down. It's very easy to miss something sometimes, but in a horse, it's a lot better. Well, they search for 10 hours. They don't find anything. Now, on that 16th, the people that are running the camp for Seismic International call their corporation and tell them what's going on. They need help. The corporate headquarters authorizes a helicopter at their own expense to start searching for Mark. That's a big expense. Helicopters, even then, about $1,500 an hour. 10 hours, that's 15 grand. Well, they're looking for him. And the helicopter didn't find anybody on the 17th. But on the 17th, they had 44 searchers. About half of them were ground pounders and half of them were people on horseback covering an area outside where they thought Mark could be. They didn't find anything. And the sheriff was getting frustrated. He thought maybe Mark had hiked out of the area. It would have been a mighty long hike. Maybe he hiked out of the area, got a ride, and ended up at home. And his parents were covering for him or something. None of it was making a lot of sense. But at the end of the 17th, just 2.5 days of searching, sheriff called off the search. No canines. Boom, search is over. About a week later, a rancher is out in that general area and he runs across one boot, fairly nice new boot, starts looking around again, finds another boot, different location, but in the same general area. Calls the sheriff. Sheriff goes back out, searches the area, doesn't find anything else. So Sheriff Bill Brewer holds a press conference and has the parents look at the boots, and they say, oh yeah, those are Mark's boots. And they were found a 1.5 mile from camp by that local rancher. So you think about 1.5 miles doesn't take that long to cover if you're a healthy 22-year-old male. But it's 3 a.m. and it's dark outside. The sheriff says, we're going to call in everybody that was in that camp and we're going to interview them again because this is too suspicious. All of a sudden the boots show up. How did we miss the boots when we were searching? We should have found those. So he calls the employees in and he re-interviews them. And he doesn't tell them, but on the last minute he says, and we want you to take a polygraph too. All of them take a polygraph. All of them pass. Their statements were solid. It happened just like they said. Well, the sheriff was said at the beginning that he was interested in foul play or anything else. What's anything else? What does that mean? I don't understand. Well, the sheriff reiterated that the boots weren't found next to each other, weren't even found near each other. They were found in different locations. Well, that's kind of weird. Why, if somebody took off their boots, would they be in different locations? Why, if you were hiking in the dark, would you want to hike in bare feet in the middle of the night when it's snowing? I'm sorry, that makes no sense. Just saying. Well, after everyone passes the polygraph and the sheriff says there was no deception, the employees also said that that night Mark had drank a little beer and had taken some drugs. It's never stated what the drugs were, a little weed, whatever, I don't know. Sheriff went back and with the parents' permission got a hold of his savings account, ATM, etc. And they found out that he's never touched his bank accounts. Nothing's ever been removed. So if he is alive, nobody knows where he is and he doesn't have any money. Well, November 12th, 1980, Mark's family posts a $3,000 reward. Explains where the boots were found. And they're trying to get searchers into the area to search. Then they also talked to 2 psychics. Psychics said that he was in water. He was in a sludge pond a few miles from where he disappeared. Sheriff went out, drained the pond. He wasn't there. The sheriff was asked by the father, why didn't you use canines to find my son? Sheriff didn't answer. Why aren't you using cadaver dogs to find my son? No answer. The sheriff also made some insinuation that Mark may have ran away. Father said there's no way. He said his son was doing really well in school, had a good future, had good solid money in the bank from his good job that he had. Said there was no way. That was a stupid thing to say. On July 5th, 1981, Washakie Search and Rescue commits to the parents to spend 2 days over the July 4th weekend looking for their son. They spend 2 days, Nothing. That was July 5th, 1981 when they left. Now, if you're the parents, the boots are there. I bet big money the body's there somewhere. But how could multiple search and rescue people not find the body? My guess would have been that it was within a half mile, quarter of a mile from the boots. Because truthfully, the ground in Wyoming is rough. They're near the bottom of a big mountain, rocky. He's not walking far, friends. Well, October 31st, 1981, the same year that Washakie tried to search, it's now hunting season. And remember what we've always talked about is that hunters always go off trail because they're looking for game. Well, hunters are walking around and they come across skeletal remains. They didn't know much about what had happened there before, but they do know a skeleton when they see it. So they get the sheriff comes out, recovers the body, and right near the body is a checkbook belonging to Mark. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? Well, they do some dental analysis work and they confirm it's Mark. And all it was skeleton and some clothing parts. They never said what the clothing was found on the body. But then the coroner stated something, local reports for local consumption. He said, Mark died from exposure. Friends, you can't make a determination of exposure when there's just bones. It's a guess. And it bothers me a lot when coroners treat the public like they're idiots. It should be an undetermined cause of death with a possibility of exposure. But that's not what they said. He died of exposure. Right away, that's what they said. Now, there were some pretty important parts to this story. Number one, the boots were found in different locations, far apart, 1.5 miles from camp. At two different locations, okay? Skeletal remains are 4.5 miles from camp. It means a 3-mile differentiation. You trying to convince me he walked 3 miles in bare feet in the dark? I guess it's possible. But why take your boots off? Two different professional searches concentrate on that area, and they got nothing. Then all of a sudden, a hunter goes out and finds the body. Just like in the first case I told you about, searchers never found him. A person found him. The car. And in this case, hunters find him. What's going on here? And then, why didn't the sheriff use canines? So he's found in an area previously searched. Okay. The whole thing smells really bad when I know the history of Wyoming. And if you haven't yet, I want you to go watch Missing 411, the UFO Connection. A lot of it was filmed in Wyoming. The major incident in the movie happened in Wyoming. You can watch it for free on Tubi, Tubi. In fact, you can watch all my movies for free on Tubi right now. Missing 411, Missing 411 The Hunted, Missing 411 The UFO Connection. It will give you a lot of the answers behind what I just told you. I'm not sure what the sheriff truly thinks about these cases. It's disappointing that he only gave those parents 2 days of search. I don't understand that at all. But imagine that the search started that first afternoon that he was missing. Was he dead then? That would have been hard to believe. He had a down coat. And it wasn't that cold, it was in the 30s at night. So if he wasn't there, where was he? And then the searchers were all over that area. Why didn't he respond to any of their calls or seeing them? Or the whole thing just does not seem right, folks. I'm sorry. So that's Mark Clevenger. And I've told you before, I think sometimes you learn more by finding the body than you do by not finding it. I would have liked to have read the coroner's report and how he came up with exposure as the cause of death. It's pretty amazing. But anyhow, I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate all the comments you guys have made in the last several weeks on the videos. I would ask you, please, before you make a comment, read the #1 pinned comment. That will be from me. If something has happened on the case, something recent that I didn't know when I filmed, I'll put it on that #1 pinned comment. So 50 times you don't have to say, oh yeah, they found this, this, and this. Oh, they've said it already, okay? So read the pinned comment. That save you some time. And again, I'm going to be in Vernal, Utah, like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of September. And then if you live in that greater Phoenix area, go to Phoenix MUFON, MUFON. They have their own website. I'm going to be speaking there in December. I'm telling you right now, it will be an epic, epic presentation. I can't tell you why. I will guarantee it will be. So get your tickets for that ASAP. If you're anywhere in Arizona, get there. Even if you're in Las Vegas, get there. And that's all I've got going for the rest of this year is the Vernal Conference, MUFON, and the cruise in November. You guys, you're appreciated beyond you'll ever know. Everybody that sits here and listens to me, so kind of you. Somebody made a comment the other day, hey, string all the videos together and put them on so they run all night, and when you're asleep, you can just go to sleep and they can play, and when you wake up, they're still going. But that would really help us. If you do that, that would really help us. Every minute you watch helps us. So be kind. When you're getting a meal served to you at a restaurant, clerks helping you at the store, tell them how much they're appreciated. That'll go a long ways to making them happier. And we need more people happy in this world. Kindness helps. Be safe, be kind. Paulides out.